Welcome back. You're watching The Buck Stops Here. Our big political story on the program tonight. The Supreme Court has said that former CBI Chief Ranjit Sinha must be investigated for what the court has called his inappropriate meetings with those that his agency was investigating. The court has described Ranjit Sinha's decision to meet the accused in different corruption cases as an abuse of power. On the program tonight, we ask, what does this do to the credibility of the CBI? And more to the point, does this cast a question over all the cases that were investigated during Ranjit Sinha's tenure? Let's introduce our panel this evening. Prashant Bhushan is with us, senior advocate and a key petitioner in this case. We're also joined by Vikas Singh. He's of course a senior advocate, but also someone who appeared for Ranjit Sinha in this case as his lawyer. And R.K. Raghavan, former CBI director, is with us as well. Prashant, what is the big takeaway from the Supreme Court's decision? Does it leave us skeptical of all the cases that were investigated by the CBI during Ranjit Sinha's tenure? And there were some very high-profile cases. There was the 2G case, there was the coal auctions, and many other cases. What does this do to the credibility of the investigations in those cases?
No, in my view, it very, very seriously undermines the credibility of all the investigations that were done during Ranjit Sinha's time, because every file eventually passes through the director of CBI. And in this case, the evidence which came out, especially about the entrance register of his residence, which showed that he had met a very large number of accused in a large number of cases, multiple times, without the presence of the investigating officer, and in some of which cases, since we were able to get the case diary, or rather the file notings of at least the cases against the Dardas, which clearly showed that he was seeking to dilute the charges against them. He was seeking to hear them, and contemporaneously with his meetings with the Dardas. So therefore, it certainly calls into question all the cases, particularly those which were not under the purview of the Supreme Court. These were only two cases which were being monitored by the Supreme Court.
What should happen to those cases? Before I get Vikas in, what should happen then to these cases that you're casting doubts on?
No, in my view, at least all those cases where he has met the accused, all those cases need to be very, very closely looked at by some independent SIT, which should examine as to whether the investigation in that was above board. Secondly, whether Ranjit Sinha interfered with the findings of the investigating officers, as he clearly did in many of these cases.
Okay.
And whether the final result was really credible or not.
Vikas Singh, let me bring you in. The fact is that the highest court of the land has now spoken. Ranjit Sinha earlier took the view that the diary that had been presented about these meetings between him and the accused were fabricated. The court has clearly believed them to be true. What does I'm really interested now in why we should believe the positions that the CBI took on all these high-profile cases, telecom in particular. You have big corporates meeting with Mr. Sinha. You have the list before you. Everyone from officials of Reliance to officials of SR to Nahatas to Dardas. I mean, the list goes on. What does it do to these cases?
Well, Barkha, we are all actually proceeding on the premise that whatever is said in the diary is true. And accordingly, then the inferences are being drawn. I am really surprised that how this inference has been taken by the Supreme Court, because if I remember correctly, I had very categorically told the court that there is no meeting between the CBI director and any of the accused as mentioned in the diary.
You're saying the whole diary, you're saying he never met any of these people.
Yes. I'll tell you, Barkha.
But hasn't he said at a different point that I know people socially and I do meet them?
I'll come to that, Barkha. I'll come to that. So the stand that I took before the Supreme Court was that as far as this diary is concerned, this original was placed in the 2G matter, and there was a demand for SIT before the 2G bench. And after having failed to get an SIT there, this is a bench hunting. This is a matter where this court should not take cognizance of at all. I also told the court that as far as the 2G matter is concerned, my affidavit in seal cover had been placed to show that there have been people coming into my home when I am not even in the country, not even at home, because my movement is completely logged. So if I am not at home and people are coming to meet me, the car numbers that have come, large number of the car numbers are completely fake.
May I interrupt you? May I interrupt you? May I just clarify? Just clarify one thing. Just clarify one thing. I have here a newspaper clipping from 2nd September 2014 in the DNA that says that top officials of the Anil Dhirubhai Ambani group have met Central Bureau of Investigation Ranjit Sinha at least 50 times in 15 months. Now, my question to you is, this is of course the Reliance Telecom and Swan Telecom cases were being looked at by the agency. Are you saying that all 50 times Mr. Sinha was not at home?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the diary is fabricated, and that is proved by the fact that large number of these entries were at a time when he was not at home. As far as meeting anybody is concerned, I had categorically told the Supreme Court that I have not discussed this matter with my client, but as a counsel, I feel that under the CRPC, it is only the IO who is the person who has, who's given all the powers under the CRPC, and every superior officer is merely a supervisory officer. Now, if a supervisory officer, it's like saying that the IO will control the director rather than the director controlling the IO. If the court takes the view that the director can't meet anybody without the IO being present in front of him, then I think it is really quite funny that the IO really will control the director rather than the director controlling the entire organization. And Barkha, one more thing on this. Yeah. There are lots of cases where, there are secret informers in respect of a case. There are lots of information which the senior officer gather in these one-to-one meetings with various people. And they use that to either build the case or to take it to the correct logical end. Now, if you say that in every case the IO is to be present, then what is going to happen? Who is going to say what he is wanting to say to a senior officer if the IO is present? And if he's wanting to make some either a confessional disclosure.
Is the diary that lists these meetings genuine or false? Are you finally accepting that it's genuine?
Fake,
because you've been arguing that it's fake. Okay, so you're still arguing that.
That is the consistent stand.
Okay, before I get R.K. Raghavan in, Prashant Bhushan, a brief rebuttal there.
You see, Mr. Sinha has been taking contradictory stands about this diary. Initially, he said that, look, I was meeting these people in order to get some information out of them about other scams and other criminal cases, which is what Mr. Vikas Singh is saying right now. Thereafter, he said that, well, I met them a few times, but not as many times as is mentioned in the diary. The persons whose names are mentioned in the diary, many of them have confirmed that they went and met him at his residence. And in any case, you see, this is very easy to verify, because I have also given the names of the guards of the CBI as well as of the ITBP who were posted at his gate. This diary is a very detailed diary, handwritten, which contains the times, the car numbers, everything, the time in, the time out, the car numbers, the persons who went in the car, etc. Therefore, there can be no manner of doubt whatsoever about the authenticity of this diary, which can be easily confirmed. And a gentleman like this who says that, look, I could meet these people in the absence of the investigating officers, why was he not recording this fact that he was meeting them in the case diary or in the file notings?
And Vikas, you're laughing, but I want to just get in R.K. Raghavan and then I'll ask you why you're laughing. R.K. Raghavan, Mr. Sinha in the last lap of his tenure as CBI chief was actually removed from the 2G investigations. That skepticism could now be brought to every case that he investigated or that was investigated under his leadership. It's terrible for the credibility of your former agency. Mr. Sinha didn't even agree to resign. I mean, he could have at least quit and acknowledged the wrongdoing or the hit to credibility. R.K. Raghavan, your thoughts today at what the Supreme Court has said?
No, I think it's a sad day for the CBI that the Supreme Court has chosen to give a direction to the CBC to investigate the conduct of a former director. So that's a very sad development. And the Supreme Court is well within its right to do so. We'll have to wait for the kind of inquiry which the CBC is going to order. In the meanwhile, definitely the credibility of the CBI has suffered a beating. I am not for a moment suggesting that all that has been said against Sinha is true. It is unfair on my part, improper on part of myself as a former director to cast any aspersions on one of my successors. But then the very fact that the Supreme Court felt that there was prima facie material to order this kind of inquiry is a little disheartening.
So what can happen
And,
now, Mr.
we'll have to wait.
Raghavan? What should happen now? Should some cases be reopened, reinvestigated?
No, I don't know. That will depend on the outcome of the inquiry which the CBC is going to conduct.
Okay.
First of all, the CBC has to conduct a very credible inquiry with the
Yes.
help of outsiders
Yes.
who have never had any links with Ranjit Sinha in any manner.
Yes.
So let him go through that probe, let him submit a report, and that report will give a guideline as to whether the investigation into other cases will have to be reopened.
I wanted Yes. Let me bring in Vikas Singh. Vikas Singh, you were smiling when Prashant Bhushan was making his argument. What about his argument amuses you?
The argument which amuses me most is, I mean, this is showing such lack of basic in functioning about the police organization. The diary is written by the IO. It's only the IO who writes the diary. Whoever be the IO. Sometimes the IO can be a superior officer also. In important cases, sometimes they make an IO, higher than an inspector. It could be a DYSP. It could be even SP in some cases. These superior officers who are mere supervisory officers never write the diary. It's in the organization like the CBI, when a matter is to be charge sheeted or a closure report is to be filed, every superior officer up to whom the file has to go, that will depend on the nature of the case and whether the director is to supervise or not. Each officer gives his comments as to what he feels with regard to the prosecutability or otherwise.
Okay, so what's your point?
Of the case.
What's your point?
So that's the place, that's the only place where he can make a remark. But as far as meet a supervisory officer, when he meets anybody, there is never any record kept of any supervisory officer meeting. It will be something preposterous. I go to my village and I have to make a complaint against somebody. I call on the SP. The SP is not supposed to record that he met Vikas Singh and this is what Vikas Singh said, and then he has to pass it on to the IO, and that this is what Mr. Vikas Singh told me when he met me. Or vice versa. If there is an accused.
Let me get Prashant Bhushan to respond
If there
to
is
what
an
you
accused
said.
also in an area, if he goes to meet the senior officer doesn't make a record of what the person told him and what he feels that how the investigation is not being done.
Okay, Prashant, why don't you come in here? Let me frame it to you differently. You have Ranjit Sinha denying meeting these people. You have the corporates also denying meeting him. For example, you had the ADAG group denying that the officials who were named in the diary ever met with Ranjit Sinha. Now, in the face of these denials, how do we establish the truth?
Well, any investigation will easily reveal the truth. As I said, you see, there were a certain number of ITBP as well as CBI officers who were posted at his gate. The names of those I had given to the Supreme Court also. Any investigation, anybody can go and ask these people as to whether this diary was maintained, by whom, in whose handwriting are all these entries made. There are several thousand entries in those registers. Therefore, it's very easy to verify the authenticity of the diary. Now, Mr. Vikas Singh is saying that the CBI director was a supervisory officer, he was not an investigating officer, therefore why should he record what he has learned from these accused persons in their meeting? If he was meeting the accused persons in connection with the investigation of those cases to have their version or to ask them something, then it is his duty to record that somewhere, whether in the case diary or in the file notings or anywhere. Otherwise, he has no business to meet them.
And Vikas
because
Singh,
the
the
criminal
contradiction,
investigation is a serious matter.
And
It's
Vikas
not a
Singh, the
casual thing like this.
contradiction is, at some point you're saying that the meetings took place for the purpose of a greater investigation. At other points you're saying the meetings didn't take place at all. So first I want to ask you, did these meetings as reported in the media, as reported in the diary, take place or not? Or are you saying some of it is true and some of it is false?
No, I'll tell you, Barkha, the stand that I have taken on his behalf, and which is, a stand which I feel is a stand which a counsel can take on behalf of his client, is that a supervisory officer definitely has the right to meet an accused and to hear his version.
So he did meet
I have also denied that
meet
these
the
meetings at residence.
He did meet the accused.
Yes, No, that's my stand that he can meet. I don't say he did meet. No, don't try to cross-examine me, Barkha. I should be doing that rather than you doing that to me.
No, but it's a serious question because I haven't understood whether he met them or not on your stand.
Yes, I'm telling you. I said the stand that I took was that he has a right to meet. He can meet. Whether he met or did not meet, I never commented on that because I am nobody to comment. The Supreme Court didn't ask for his affidavit on that, so he didn't file any affidavit on this score.
Okay.
And this matter, according to me, was dead and buried in the 2G matter. So accordingly, we thought that here it's a case of bench hunting, and it's a case of sort of trying to get reopen something which has already been finished in the earlier matter. So that is why we never thought that this. Orally, I told the court that there was complete denial to these meetings as mentioned in the diary.
Okay, I have to end, but
at the same time,
at the same time, you're saying if he wanted to, he could because he's a supervisory officer. R.K. Raghavan, 30 seconds to you.
Absolutely.
R.K. Raghavan, there's also another CBI director, A.P. Singh. There are media reports of another accused, Moin Qureshi, being in touch with him. You know, who's going to believe the CBI after this? Just 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah, I cannot agree more with you that the CBI lately has suffered a serious erosion in credibility because of these developments. I'm not blaming individual officers, but all the reports which have come up in the press during the past few years, they have been negative. This is a very unfortunate development. I'm sure from now onwards, at least, the CBI will be more transparent and will not give an opportunity for any such speculations about
and in many
conduct.
ways, the investigation into Ranjit Sinha's tenure will be a test case of whether that credibility can be restored. We'll leave it there. Vikas Singh, Prashant Bhushan and R.K. Raghavan, thank you for joining us on The Buck Stops Here. And that is it.
Barkha.
Thank you. And that's it on the program tonight. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.